The unnecessary controversy Donald Trump created after John McCain's death illustrates what has become a reality, that the president makes no attempt to undertake or even understand the duties the American people have come to expect of the leader of the free world. Ashley Parker of the Washington Post calls him the president non grata. And she writes this morning in the Washington Post, less than 2 years into his first term, Trump has often come to occupy the role of pariah, both unwelcome and unwilling to perform the basic rituals and ceremonies of the presidency, from public displays of mourning to cultural ceremonies. Trump's conspicuous absences at both McCain's and Barbara Bush's funerals offer perhaps the starkest examples of the ways in which Trump finds himself ostracized from some of the duties other presidents performed as almost de facto aspects of their job. And Ashley Parker joins us now. And Ashley, I love great newspaper leads, and so here you go, kid. Shunned at 2 funerals and 1 royal wedding so far, President Trump may well be on his way to becoming president non grata. Great job. Great job. Now, my question for you, after reading the piece, and it jumped into my mind, reading your very fine piece this morning in the Washington Post, is how difficult it must have been. What did you hear, according to your reporting? How difficult must it have been for General John Kelly, who spent his entire life in the Marine Corps, dedicated to fighting for freedom, and as part of that job, knows what to do when someone dies?
So this is one of these stories, the president's behavior surrounding Senator McCain's death, that looked good for no one in this White House. It made the president himself look small and petty, but you're right. It's also the people around him who sort of know what is called for in these times, especially General Kelly, but also even someone like, White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who was one of the people who came to the president before Senator McCain had passed with a statement and, had to listen to the president sort of say, no, we're not going to call him a hero. We're not going to praise his life and his military service and his work, and I'm just simply going to send out a tweet. She, too, is the daughter of a prominent politician, so there's that sort of extra little parallel or poignancy. And so this was something everyone in the White House sort of understood, or most everyone in the White House understood was unacceptable behavior.
Michael Steele, I don't say this as an indictment of you, trust me, but you are of Washington. You've lived in Washington for a long time. You understand politics. You were a part of politics. You were chairman of the Republican National Committee. Am I correct in thinking that maybe beneath the surface of what happened in the aftermath of John McCain's death, with the flag and the president's behavior toward McCain and his refusal to lower the flag to half-staff, that Washington and most Republican senators failing to stand up in outrage over it, that they don't understand that one of the commonalities of life in America, life in the world maybe, but life in America specifically, is people know what to do when they go to a wake or when they go to a funeral. They know what to do. They know what's right. What do you sense is missing in the political establishment in Washington, specifically the Republican Party, the Republican Senate, will leave the House to itself? What is missing and why?
Cojones, backbone, spine, whatever you want to call it. It is appalling. It is galling. It is embarrassing, particularly among members of the Senate who, having served with John McCain and even, engaged in battles with him and all of that good stuff, knew the kind of man he was, knew his service to the nation, could not find it within themselves on this one thing, let alone when the president, ridiculed McCain's service and said he wasn't a hero, that, I'd like people who don't get caught in all of that crazy. Regardless of that, in this moment, could not find the words to say to the nation, but most specifically to the president, this is wrong. tells you everything you want to know. These folks are more concerned about returning to Washington in their elected seats come January than they are about anything else right now. We sugarcoat this stuff. We talk about analysis here and all this stuff. This is the bottom line. We can't psychoanalyze these folks than that. The most important thing for a member of the United States Senate and a member of the United States House of Representatives who is a Republican is to maintain that seat, regardless. And so values, principles, ideas, standing for one of their own who's being assaulted to the degree that John McCain has been assaulted by this president, no, that's less important than getting reelected. And it is a damnable offense, I think, that will be paid for in spades starting this November.
That's quite an indictment. Thank you. I appreciate that. Frank, you've served along people who have died in the line of duty.
Yeah, I've served also along some great leaders in government service who understand what it means to adhere to tradition and custom and care for your people. And so not getting it right when a long-term heroic U.S. Senator passes, not getting invited to places because of your own personality flaws undermines your ability to lead. We need leaders to show up at things that are traditional and customary. And when he doesn't do that, he continues to erode his own ability to shine.
Elise, you're from a region of the country, Mississippi, where there is, deservedly so, great emphasis put on patriotism and service to the country. So what about this? We've just seen a spectacular and upsetting display of pettiness and jealousy, envy really, from the president toward an individual, John McCain, who died. What happens in your region of the country, or what's your assessment of what might happen in the country the next time this man, Mr. Trump, tweets about the need to support and be loyal to veterans?
Well, I think that this episode has been more of a Washington story than it has actually trickled down to people in red states where Donald Trump is hugely popular. I called up my mother and asked her what she thought about the way Donald Trump was tweeting John McCain. And she said, well, you know, I heard he did lower the flag and had missed all of the hoopla over, the back and forth and the pettiness before Donald Trump was forced to make that play. And so I think a lot of it are news silos are so extreme now between tribes. And if people don't seek out news outside of what is reinforcing their preconceived notions, you might not necessarily get that. And you might not, and it might not even be for lack of trying. It might be just that you're not plugged into the 24/7 news cycle, and so it doesn't necessarily seep in. But Donald Trump supporters know by this stage in the game that he isn't some gracious statesman. They don't expect that kind of behavior from him, and they've been willing to excuse it time and time again in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have our answer here. I mean, in the campaign, he insulted McCain's service, insulted the fact that he got captured. Yeah. And the assumption was, among people like us, stupid people, that it was going to cripple his campaign, that that would be the end of Donald Trump. And, of course, that wasn't. And I think, to a certain degree, Trump is no dummy. He recognizes that he got away with stuff like that. He's built it into part of his brand. And I think for people like the average voter in Mississippi, Donald Trump's cult of personality has far more gravitational pull than a weeks-long news cycle about John McCain's funeral.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.